Hi, welcome to Recap House. Today we're going to recap a German drama film named Look Who's Back. It was realized on October 8, 2015. It's a story showing Adolf Hitler awakens to end up in the 21st century where his shelter used to be, without any memory of anything after 1945. Deciphering present-day circumstances according to a Nazi point of view, he makes popularity and progress as an entertainer. As we can see, the movie started somewhere during World War II in Berlin. Führer Hitler is with a conduct mentor named Kappel. Hitler communicates his conflict with the token of individuals hello to Kappel. He gripes that however the Nazi salute is outformed, individuals need to essentially lift their hands up to the wrist and show regard. Then, at that point, he portrays that he has done all that could be within reach by a human to obliterate the groundworks of the foe who profaned their dirt. He finds Germans' presence immeasurable and finds it disturbing that he is here as well. In the accompanying scene, he awakens on the ground in some place in a timberland. While admiring the sky, he sees that the hostile airplanes are missing and surmises that they could have taken some rest. Unexpectedly, a bull comes skipping towards him and stops right next to him. He raises himself and heads towards a structure past the shrubbery. He is moved toward by three small children who question him, assuming he is all right. Hitler takes a gander at them and thinks that they are the eventual fate of the country. He then asks them the way to the road. Right then and there, a journalist, Fabian Sawatzki, is recording the children on his camera. Hitler is seen on the most distant side of the screen. He gets his military cap and tells himself that he ought to go to the Führer dugout. Hitler gets to the road and gets stunned at individuals riding monowheel bicycles. He finds individuals catching him in their camera and communicates that however the rubble went, individuals have gone distraught. Then he feels a cutting-edge vehicle by his hand and questions himself on the off chance that he fell in a state of unconsciousness and missed the triumph. He understands that he isn't mindful of his circumstance absolutely and makes himself aware of gathering more data. Then he gets some information about the area of Chancellery, however the individual rather asks him for an image. He gets upset by the camera's blazes as individuals approach him and take photographs reciprocally. Befuddled by the strange occasions around him, he finishes up something left hand in the spot. As Hitler leaves, he finds a lady talking in German on her telephone. He draws nearer and gets some information about the ongoing date, yet the lady gets panicked and splashes his eyes. Hitler cries in torment as his eyes get rosy and his vision gets obscured. He staggers and strolls to a paper shop close by. He gets stunned to see the date October 3, 2014 composed on the paper and tumbles to the ground on the double. Elsewhere, the supervisor of a television slot, Kanner, acclaims Mr. Christoph Sensenbrink for his magnificent occupation as the representative's head. He proposes a higher arrangement, however, rather declares another laborer named Miss Katja Bellini as the overseeing chief. Because of this, Christoph gets stunned and disappointed. He comes to his office and vents his displeasure out at a striving movie producer named Fabian. Notwithstanding Fabian's best efforts to persuade his chief, he gets terminated and tossed out by the watchman. Sometime later, Hitler awakens at the news shop and gets some information about the date. He affirms that it is as a matter of fact 2014. A confused Hitler questions in the event that the retailer has grabbed him and suspects, assuming this is a stunt play of the foe's mystery administration. He takes steps to kill the businessperson in the event that he is working for the foe, however the retailer provides him with a bar of chocolate, all things considered. Hitler opens it after very much a battle and sniffs it. He pronounces it as mechanically squeezed grain and questions the retailer in the event that there is as yet a lack of bread. The retailer inquires as to whether they are shooting a narrative someplace close by, confusing him with an entertainer. The retailer then, at that point, says that he very closely resembles the Führer, to which Hitler answers that he is the Führer. From that point onward, Hitler sees the Turkish paper and inquires as to whether the businessperson has Sturmer or Panzerbar. The businessperson says that he has more Turkish clients. Hitler gets astounded at the presence of Turkish individuals in Berlin. He then, at that point, begins gathering data from the paper. While understanding it, he expects that he didn't win the conflict before and Germany was given to the hands of ungainly ladies having the magnetism of a wet noodle. He further mourns the presence of Poland and closes the conflict to be a complete waste. In the interim, Fabian views his video announcing about soccer and Wales, miserable at the way that he was terminated. His mom quiets him and requests that he stop the video, seeing Hitler behind. Fabian is entertained at the revelation of a comparable individual to Hitler. Back in the shop, the businessperson requests that Hitler keep the paper to the side and stand outside. Hitler hard feelings at being approached to work. The retailer recommends Hitler clean his garments for they are smelling. He then goes to a clothing place and requests that they clean his uniform. Hitler inquires as to whether they have one more uniform since he can't leave stripped. Then we see Hitler strolling to the news vendor with pants and a sweater on. Fabian, then again, has some way or another figured out how to track down him and is hanging tight for him in the shop. In the wake of getting a glance at Hitler, he is stunned at his appearance. Fabian inquires as to whether he can film him as he walks through current Germany. Hitler concurs with the thought. Fabian takes up a little money and a vehicle from his mom and starts his excursion with Hitler. The two end up in a lodging where Hitler gets entertained at seeing the TV. He then, at that point, chooses to discuss legislative issues in Fabian's show. He goes to ask individuals in regards to their perspectives on legislative issues. After the meetings, he observes that there was negligible effect of a majority rules system upon individuals during his non-appearance. He reviews discontent and smothered outrage in individuals, which helps him to remember the 1930s, when individuals had comparable perspectives yet missed the mark on term political disappointment. Individuals enlightened Hitler regarding the issue of foreigners in the nation, making Hitler push his thought that blending the races doesn't work. Afterward, Fabian requests Hitler the source from his novel mustache. Hitler answers that he slices his mustache to the shape to fit a gas veil. Sometime later, the two end up in a homestead where Hitler gets bit by a canine. He is irritated and takes shots at the creature. Fabian admonishes him and holds on to the firearm. As the visit goes on, Fabian in the end reaches a financial dead end. However, he thinks about an arrangement and persuades the passers to have their portrayals drawn by Hitler. Hitler draws mocking pictures which individuals think are interesting and pay for it. They proceed with their outing subsequent to gathering sufficient cash. Back in the neighborhood, Fabian shows a clasp of Hitler to Christoph. The video has a ton of perspectives as Fabian had transferred it on the web. Christoph is dazzled by the enormous number of perspectives in the video. He asks Fabian for Hitler's name and contact number. In the wake of meeting him, Christoph suspects Hitler to be a neurotic and requests that Fabian remove him from the workplace. Prior to leaving, Hitler enters the chief's office and requests that she save Germany along with him. Intrigued at the thought, Bellini gets some information about the arrangement. She rapidly requests that her partner set up a legitimate television design for broadcasting the Führer on paying attention to Hitler's thoughts. Fabian then undermines Christoph to give him his work back, or, in all likelihood, he will remove Hitler. On hearing this, Christoph makes him a kitchen kid, promising to advance him when another publication post opens up. Sometime later, Hitler is given a table in the television studio. Christoph calls for Kromier to assist Hitler with PC use. Hitler reviews the PCs of his days and names the development to be quite possibly the best. Kromier attempts to join Hitler by mail, however, informs him that his name is as of now taken. Hitler snorts for others taking his name and advises her to involve New Reichschancellery as he loved it. Christoph plans to put Hitler on a Lev parody show called Hold Up Man. He is as yet pungent in light of the fact that Bellini got an advancement rather than him. What's more, plans to inconvenience her. He expects to carry bigotry to the discussion through snide jokes on Jews and toss out Hitler. The show begins and Witzigmann, the host, calls for Hitler on the stage. The crowd tattles about Hitler's appearance, yet when Hitler looks at the crowd, the lobby gets totally quiet. Hitler before long ends the quiet, however, doesn't peruse out the lines as prearranged. He makes sense that he is to make a quip about workers, yet he won't do as such. He says that a television is an incredible creation of the human, however the shows communicated are hogwash. He reveals insight into issues like destitution and joblessness and figures that individuals of the nation are going towards the pit without seeing it. Hitler promises to battle against the television not just up to the transmission of the void, yet additionally until he prevails with regards to beating them. Everybody prefers the thought and applauds him. Seeing Hitler's fame, the host Witzigmann gets desirous. Bellini requests that Christoph broadcast Hitler in each show. Christoph is bothered in light of the disappointment of his arrangement. In the accompanying scene, we see Hitler give interviews on various programs and offer that his thought process is to make Germany extraordinary once more. His fame develops hugely and he meets a few group and party pioneers. He begins enchanting them generally by sharing his thoughts. At some point, Hitler and Fabian visit the NPD base camp in Berlin. He calls for Ulf Bern, the government director of NPD, and asks him what his objective has accomplished up to this point. Hitler disparages him and says that they have burned through sufficient opportunity, and the development is shocking for a long time because of their words. Christoph gets energized and blissful when the police and head prosecutor, DA, show up at the television studio. They make sense that they are hanging around for a protest of charging infringement of can't stand regulations. Bellini asks what they are to do then, at that point. Rapidly, Christoph pops that they might have to drop the Führer show. The DA says that they can keep the telecom on. Bellini takes a moan of help while Christoph fakes his grin. After the DA leaves, Kromier surrenders a letter to Christoph expressing the installment of the canine which Hitler had shot before in his outing. Christoph gets the letter cheerfully, accepting it very well may be a method for creating problems. Then Hitler is put to a television program where he is posed direct inquiries about his various jobs in the conflict. Hitler answers that he needs to connect with individuals, yet the questioner lets him know that every one of his deeds can't be legitimate. He shows him the clasp of him shooting the canine. The video disturbs the crowd. Hitler is irritated and compromises him that he would do likewise to him. He further says that he will move their studio toward a parking garage for tanks. Christoph gets more joyful seeing individuals' negative reactions. After the awful meeting, Bellini is terminated and Christoph is designated as the new chief. From that point onward, Hitler goes to Fabian's home and starts residing with him. He communicates entertainment at the way taken by fate and begins to compose his subsequent book. The book before long raises a ruckus around town. After 90 days at the television studio, everybody sits in a gathering where the gigantic misfortune that the organization has gone through is examined. Christoph accepts that Witzigmann's show will return them on target, however one worker informs him that he has left his place of employment. Christoph gets strained and lashes out at the chosen representatives for losing the show. One of the staff recommends getting Hitler back, which intrigues Christoph. He searches for Hitler once more and offers Fabian that he will put 1 million in the film that Fabian and Hitler are shooting, assuming they consequently let them broadcast the film on their television. Hitler and Fabian come to Cromier's home, where Cromier's grandma recognizes Hitler. She asserts that Hitler gassed every one individual up and killed them. She calls him a lawbreaker and tells him to get out. In the vehicle, Hitler shares that he is shocked at Cromier being a Jew. He begins to deprecate Jews, calling them less of people. Fabian gets frustrated at Hitler's activities and his words. Back in the set, Fabian gets Hitler to replay how he arrived at the spot. He asks Hitler what occurred before the ball came moving to him in the forest, however Hitler can't recollect it. Later, around evening time, he leaves the set and is encircled by certain hooligans. They call him the motivation to take Germany back and give him a hard blow all over. As Hitler wakes up, he winds up in a clinic before Bellini. Simultaneously, Fabian investigates the recording of the video he caught about the young men and soccer. He takes a gander at it and finds Hitler rose from where he was lying. Fabian gets astonished at what occurred before it. He rapidly goes to the spot and finds a board at the area expressing the verifiable area of Führer dugout. Fabian races to the clinic, yet doesn't track down Hitler. Bellini says that he has gone to the shooting set. Fabian discovers that he is the genuine Adolf Hitler, yet Bellini doesn't trust him. Fabian demonstrates distraught and attempts to madly make sense of his hypothesis. The watchmen attempt to get him, yet he escapes. Fabian then, at that point, arrives at the set and points a firearm at Hitler. At the point when gotten some information about his character, Hitler makes sense of that he never professed to be any other person. Fabian says that Hitler is tricking individuals with his publicity, to which Hitler answers that individuals chose a pioneer who shared his entire thought straightforwardly in 1933. Fabian takes Hitler to the highest point of a structure with his firearm. He corners Hitler furthermore, pronounces him to be a beast. Hitler in turn applauds back, saying that conventional individuals chose an unprecedented man and shared the destiny of the country with him. He makes sense that individuals picked him since they bear similar qualities in their internal hearts. An infuriated Fabian shoots Hitler, making him tumble down the structure onto the road. Before long, Fabian hears Hitler's voice, who says that no German can dispose of him. What's more, Hitler, who was simply tossed down, shows up right behind it once more. All of a sudden, Bellini requires a cut in the studio, and everybody supports the shoot. Turns out that it was only a film shoot, and an irregular entertainer was assuming the part of Fabian. Hitler then, at that point, requests that everybody recollect the friends who couldn't accompany them. Elsewhere, Cromier is crying, seeing Fabian through an opening in the psychological ward. Hitler and Bellini are caught up with giving signatures and meetings to individuals after the film blasts. As they pass by a vehicle, individuals on the road appear to be partial to Hitler and welcome him with deference. Thanks for watching. If you have liked the video, like it and subscribe to the channel.